the worst mistake that we keep doing when we try and deconstruct or try to understand how the pyramid was built, or how, for that matter, let's give a Bharati example, the Brihadishwara temple was built. You are trying to apply your contemporary understanding of physics and civil engineering to what would have happened then, without asking yourself whether this paradigm of science, which we take for granted today, is the paradigm of science that would have existed then. So therefore, what you ask yourself, for this to have happened, there should have been multiple elephants which should have rolled each of these boulders through logs, and it should have gone to this particular height. That is you applying contemporary thinking based on your assumption that a certain technology did not exist in the past, and you're retrofitting your current understanding of science to the past, without asking yourself, what if they have approached this entire problem in a very different way, which perhaps even militates your contemporary understanding of science. The reason why this becomes very, very crucial, and this is where I think the real battle is Indian knowledge systems constantly have to fight the battle of having to prove themselves on the anvils of Western understanding of science. So what happens then is you're forced to even look at this particular scientific approach, or let's say our contributions through the Western lens, which would be equally bad, because it's almost as if you're saying that when I indigenize Indian scientific literature, all I'm doing is translating something that has existed into Indian languages without asking whether this is the manner in which they should be approached in the first place. Each of our philosophical darshanas, each of the Shad darshanas have their own implications on how we have taken it forward in the form of science and technology. And therefore, it may be impossible to even make sense of Indian scientific contributions as long as the Western paradigm is applied to it. Now, the mistake that you're going to make as part of this discussion is to say, science is isme Western kya hai, Indian kya hai? No, not at all. Completely wrong. The manner in which you have a particular philosophy is the reason why you arrive at the concept of shunya. The way you understand your relationship with the Supreme Consciousness, your place in the entire cosmos, is the reason that you decide to come with a particular concept called shunya. It has got everything to do with your way of life. It's got everything to do with the philosophy that you believe in. It's got everything to do with how you see the Supreme Consciousness. So when someone says science is science, there are two, let's say, problems with it. One, it completely ignores the anthropological, evolutionary and cultural aspects of science, completely. And the second thing that it does is that it treats one particular template as universal, and therefore it submerges everything else under the carpet. Finished. That's the end of the matter. So that means you will never look at Ayurveda on its own terms. Ayurveda will have to prove itself on the anvils of allopathic empirical evidence. So therefore, clinical trial studies, so on and so forth, the way you look at how a molecule is developed in traditional, let's say in Western pharmaceutical science, is the model that you choose to superimpose on Ayurveda, without asking whether this is right. Is this fair? Because you have told yourself, if it's a quality standard, this is the benchmark. If it's an empirical standard, this is the benchmark. If there is rigor, this is the benchmark. There ends the discussion after that. So perhaps when you look at all these workshops which are happening under the umbrella of IKS, the first thing is not the content or the substance, but the manner of seeing, the manner of approaching, the mode of learning. That is the radical change that is required, which is to say, it's a complete rewiring, and you can't rewire unless you unlearn.